Right. Hello.
Hello.
In the Bonsoir.
We're in
with
the
my best friend.
This is where we spent many days.
Yes, many days. I think we played psychologist, but I would lie on the sofa and you would sit in front of me and I would tell you my worries and you'd tell me what it was.
Very highbrow games for tiny children.
Very much so.
Intellectuals from day dot.
Anyway, hello.
Hi.
Firstly, I'm so sorry for ghosting you. I'm not even going to give you any excuses. It's just been mad. Okay, I gave you an excuse. But anyway, I promised myself I wouldn't because that is very boring. But welcome to the first breakaway episode of Pretty Lonely. I've come to Durban for the Luries, which is this crazy ads award show where I somehow got selected to judge the student awards, which has been fun.
Because you have useful things to contribute,
well,
Theo.
yeah, I suppose so.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
I'm here with Sophie, who is also a copywriter in advertising.
Not a judge, though.
Well, she wasn't selected to be a judge this year, but she has been nominated for over 100 awards or something. So, I'm sitting with royalty, and I love being back in the city which I grew up in.
What's also so cool about it is... Theo and I have been friends for such a long time, and one of the things we used to do when we were tiny is make a little radio show on a cassette.
I know, we were born to be podcasters.
I don't think podcasts even existed yet.
No.
We were so ahead
an
of the
incredible
curve.
radio show there.
Yeah, we did.
Which we used to record onto little cassette tapes. If we can find one, we might insert it here. If not, just use your imagination. It was hilarious.
I distinctly remember singing a Coca-Cola ad, and also us talking about George Harrison dying or something.
I think I remember the Coca-Cola ad jingle. It was something like, I like to go to the sea, drink Coca-Cola and tea. That's where it ended. Anyway, so it's been great to be back here and it's really brought a lot of memories. I grew up here and I left here when I was about 13, so, a lot of hormones going on around that time.
We had what seemed like too many hormones.
Yes, definitely. I think we were like above average hormones.
Really horny children.
Yeah, we really were. So we thought we'd record a little podcast that explores the earliest stages of falling in love with boys. That obviously involved a lot of text art SMSes, sweaty palms, and of course stuffing our bras with toilet paper.
Yeah. I mean, when you only had 160 characters or whatever, you really had to make them count.
Oh my goodness, but when someone sent you like a little bear that would open and close its arms in a hug, it was like destiny,
magic.
You just thought that was it, you were going to get married.
Soulmates, for sure.
We've obviously given you our age now, so there you have
it.
I think we should jump right in, or should I say pounce, because that's exactly what I did when I met this guy.
I feel we need to set the scene. So something that Theo and I often used to do is go to a beach called Vetchie's Beach, which is this lovely little... kind of alcovey beach in Durban and go swimming, and we were in the sea and being incredibly, I think, pretty forceful a lot of the time.
Incredibly mature.
Yeah, and super mature. I suggested to Theo that she swim underwater and go and with her hand, I don't think I made you actually bite him, with your hand simulate the bite of a shark on this boy.
On this boy's ankle.
This boy's ankle. And so basically Theo swam underwater, bit this poor boy on the ankle, and then obviously laughed and then ran out of air, and so had to stand up right next to him, which definitely wasn't part of the plan.
No, definitely not.
But that's how love stories begin,
yeah,
am I right?
It was complete fate, and up I came, and there he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know, I was dead by my friend. Do you want to go out with me? It's kind of how it happened, I suppose. I can't seem to remember the link of how we ended up going on a date that evening, because it literally was that evening. I remember we had to go home really quickly after I was asked out, or I asked him out, I can't remember. And we had to get ready super fast, and the kind of things that we did to get ready. Can you remember?
Yes. I mean, okay, so one of the things, I'm not sure if we've mentioned, we were 11 at this point, and he was 15, which looking back is a weird age gap. I mean, obviously now we're in our late 20s.
It's fine now, it's a great age gap now, but God, back then.
Means nothing. Back then, that's like really weird.
Yes.
But... I say that, I mean, we knew the age gap. He didn't.
Yeah.
We lied. We said we were 14 or something.
And of course, what took place was us trying to turn ourselves into 14-year-olds.
Yes.
So that when we did go on this date, it looked completely normal. So what do 14-year-olds sound like? Let's do some voice training. I think I changed my voice a little.
Yes. We tried to sound cooler.
Yeah.
We basically tried to do like an early 90s, or like mid-90s film, kind of makeover.
Yes.
A la Clueless.
So, of course, there was cutting of jeans, safety pinning them together because that was somehow cool.
Yes, I remember distinctly making the rip and then putting it back together with like the safety pins we found like your mom's sewing box.
Yeah. And, you know, a whole lot of makeup on our faces, and I think there was some sort of hair dye incident.
It wasn't just hair dye, Theo. We peroxided bits of Theo's hair and cut it. And obviously, as an 11-year-old, but a very confident 11-year-old, confident, mature, clearly had it all going on, I told Theo I knew exactly what I was doing and gave her this asymmetrical hairdo that I thought looked really, really cool. I just remember
it was really ahead of its time.
Really ahead of its time. But I think the one thing that we definitely did that we felt would definitely make Theo look older was we stuffed her bra with tissue paper.
Yeah, that was what we did just as we left the house. Goodness me, I had these flamingly large boobs that were very crinkly at first touch.
And also, much like the hair on her head, asymmetrical.
Anyway, off we go. There I am, sitting in the car, rescue drops down my gullet. My dad's taking us. He says he's going to go and sit in a restaurant nearby, and Sophie and I are going to go and meet him at the Spur.
Place of any romantic tale.
And we arrived there, and he'd also brought someone, so
yes,
that was a relief.
Yes, he brought along his gal pal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't a double date. I think deep down I was hoping it would be a double date.
Yeah.
But it was not.
I know, I'm sorry, Sobs.
It's
That was
okay.
one of those things. I mean, I remember you also got like really glammed up as well. And we never knew. And then she turned up with him, and they looked like they were great friends. And she was, I remember, stunning. She was like this tall, blonde, like she was a real voluptuous 15-year-old, and it was very intimidating. But anyway, here I am, sitting next to this guy. We order a milkshake. He's holding my hand at first instant that he can get my hand.
He was a fast mover. He wasn't wasting any time, and
No.
we should have seen this from the moment we met him.
Yes.
When he was like, yes, we're going on a date tonight.
I know. Gosh, he moved so fast.
He was such a fast mover.
So, who knows what we spoke about, but all I can remember is feeling rather out of our depth. Because, you know, when they say, so how's grade 9 going for you, or how's grade 10 going for you, we're sort of like, well, yeah, it's cool. I mean, we're learning a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite hard to talk about things when you're 11 and they're 15. And of course, as this awkward conversation was ensuing, I kept feeling this hand move closer and closer to my leg, and then once it was on my leg, I started sweating like from my pits because it was a little bit too far.
Yeah.
When
like
you're
you had
11.
all that tissue paper
Yes,
nearby
you know.
to soak up the juices.
Yeah, and then of course this hand doesn't just stop at my knee, it starts moving closer up and up and up, and I thought, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing here. But luckily, Sophie, you and I were so in tune with each other, and I just looked at you across the table and I just sort of made a small little nod of my head.
I knew.
And you said, well, shall we go to the bathroom? And of course we rushed off. We went to the bathroom. I said, I can't. He's touching my leg. And oh, goodness, no, we can't do this. We can't do this.
Absolutely not.
So we came up with some kind of escape plan where we just ran out in broad daylight so they saw everything. That was our escape. And we ran. We did not stop running until we got to where my dad was hanging out.
Yeah.
And and then I think we ordered like some food and decompressed after that.
Absolutely. I think we definitely got some steers or something to make up for the fact that we didn't actually even get our meal.
Yeah.
Because all of this happened quite quickly. But yeah, I mean, that was your first date. That was your
it.
first taste of real love.
Oh, and of course the heartbreak after that, because we got home and of course we had to get down to business.
Vending things.
Yeah, I mean, because when you do ask someone out on a date at that age, it's like, we're together.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm buying you a milkshake, that means that we are girlfriend and boyfriend.
There is no courting process.
No, not at all.
It starts off as a bite on the leg in the ocean, and by sunset, it's true love.
And then
it just is.
And then, you know, we had troubles halfway through and we had to end it.
You've been through it all. You've had all the emotions.
But I'm quite an empathetic person. I always have been. And I found it really difficult to tell him that it was over.
Yeah, breaking the news was tough.
Yeah,
I remember you took it hard.
I did. So I actually had to hand over my phone to you because I just found it all too difficult. So I think you were responsible for breaking up with him.
Yes, I was. And, always had a real way with words and sounding youthful and cool. I told him that he just didn't tickle your fancy.
And he responded, he was furious. He said, go and tickle your own fancy.
Which is so rude.
I mean, come on, what is he saying? I remember feeling really upset about it for like all of 10 seconds, and then we had a good old laugh. And
which truly was maybe about, 0.5% of the entire length of the relationship. So in that way, substantial period of time.
Yeah, substantial. And then we got into bed with oversized t-shirts and, I don't know, giggled and chatted, and that was it. But that was my first ever date, and I think it couldn't have gone any better or any worse. It was just one of those things. I'm sure you've all got stories of your first date, and I just thought it would be fun to go down memory lane there.
Yes.
I'm sorry you never got any action, so.
Well, you know, whilst I am more than happy with the way that I look now, it's fine. You know, I think when you're in your late 20s, you just accept what you've got going for you. The early 2000s definitely were not a good period of time for people who are a bit rounder and with brown curly hair and enormous eyebrows. It's just not, it wasn't the look, you know, it wasn't, these are the days of like the OC and One Tree Hill and the Misha Barton aesthetic.
Media was not putting out a reflection of who we truly are, and I don't think it is anyway now. But
no, it definitely isn't. It's trying, but I definitely didn't fit into the Misha Barton aesthetic, for sure. And so for me, dating definitely started a little bit later on in life.
And it hasn't been bad. How are things in Johannesburg, which is where you live now, by the way? That's where she lives. How's the dating scene been?
So, I mean, all I really have to compare the dating scene in Joburg to is the dating scene in Durban. And Durban's a funny place. Like, it's full of stoners and charismatic Christians, and that's it. And there's a small, like, Venn diagram where the two overlap. But that's it. So if you're not interested in either of those things, it can sometimes feel a bit, ooh. And so lots of people, you know, if you found someone when you were 19 and they were cool, you just kind of was like, okay, cool. Well, this is it. I'm going to latch onto you like a limpet, because fuck knows what else is going on out there. Coming from Durban, where the dating pool, wasn't great, moving to Joburg, it just felt like I was just in the sea of opportunity. Just all these incredible, smart, interesting men around. So dating has definitely been in parts fun, and then in other parts not so much fun, which I think is normal. And I've had a few like short relationships and one longer, more serious relationship since I've lived in Joburg for the last 4 years. But it's definitely been an experience. I've been on some extremely strange dates.
Tell me about the strangest one.
Okay. One of the dates that I went on was with a professional soccer player who was from Switzerland, and it was just nothing particularly happened that was too odd, but it was just an extremely strange situation, dating someone who is kind of famous-ish in a world that is
in a fitness world.
In a fitness world, which is not my world. I mean, he was cut like a diamond. I don't know how else to describe this guy. Just, you know, a professional athlete. It was just odd. It was one of those things that I agreed to without really thinking, how is this actually gonna pan out? But it was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's mostly been fine.
And you said the dating pool was quite small in Durban and you had to latch onto someone. I remember who that person is. Yes. And how are things going? Because I know that you still think about him, or the last time I spoke to you, you were still talking about him, and he was like this long lost love of yours.
Yes.
And funnily enough, side story, we just bumped into him 10 minutes ago when we were on a walk. So that was interesting. How did it feel? And tell me about this person.
Well, I definitely didn't feel like I had latched onto him or he had latched onto me. We had a very lovely relationship, and for that period of my life, I'm just so happy that we dated.
Cool.
He was a wonderful partner. But then we inevitably broke up, and for a long time afterwards, I'd go through these kind of cycles of being, oh, why did I do that? Why did I break up with him? Because, and I don't know, I think this is probably quite a common feeling, but when your dating life isn't going so well and you've dated someone in the past who has been really lovely, you do kind of have a bit of a revisionist history when it comes to it, and see it with the rose-tinted glasses and only remember the stuff that was really marvelous. And we broke up a long time ago, like 5 years ago.
I know, it's been like a 5-year breakup.
Yes.
Wow.
And there were a few moments of seeing each other again, briefly.
Few little hookups here and there.
Yeah, but I would say it is definitely in my past now. I won't use the term get over him, because I just don't feel like people in your life are humps in the road that you've just got to jump over, because if they're significant, you'll never feel truly neutral towards them. And I will never feel neutral towards him, but I definitely don't pine for him anymore, or feel like there's still the space for us sometime in the future.
But I think it's good to have some kind of closure, you know?
Yes, closure is a good word.
Is that the right word? I was about to say, I don't know if it is, because closure always reminds me of like death and like finding out how they died.
Well, I suppose it's the death of a relationship. You know, you
go
from being in love with someone and them also being your best friend and spending all your time together to essentially nothing. And so in a way, the end of a relationship does feel like a particular kind of death.
I feel like a lot of people will relate to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose it didn't ever feel like a death. There was always this part of me that thought, I suppose I'm just ultra romantic in a particular kind of way. I just always thought like, oh, we'll like find each other again.
Oh.
And I don't feel that way anymore, and I don't feel sad about it. I just feel like that's right. And yeah, so we ran into him down Florida Road. He was busy working, and
So it could be nice and brief. It wasn't like we had to sort of chat for a while and do a whole catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I love chatting to him. For a long time, it always felt like it was too long and too short at the same time. That funny feeling of, but now it's just, it is nice to see him and see that he's doing well.
Anyway, we've got the luries to get ready for.
We do.
What are you wearing?
I am wearing a red wrap dress that my mother said looks like a dust coat. So, not necessarily my best look, and some black heels and my overly inflated, humidified Durban hair.
Which you were trying so hard not to go frizzy earlier by holding it the whole walk.
Yes, I have very curly hair, which I do really like most of the time, but Durban doesn't quite agree with it. I can
the humidity just,
Yeah, it's not great.
It.
So, I mean, we'll see, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. What are you wearing?
I'm wearing this sleek little black dress from H&M. And some nice high heels that I wore at the Kids' Choice Awards a few years back, and I never really got to flaunt too much because we weren't invited to the red carpet, having flown all the way to Los Angeles, which is a hilarious moment in my career.
That's insane. Why?
It was just someone got the admin messed up. And anyway, but so now I'm going to wear them and let them see their time in the sun. And also last night I tried some spray tan, which I've never done in my life before. I just thought I may as well try it out because I am incredibly white. Like, I'm not so much about going in the sun these days. I just feel like there's no reason to, put yourself through that much risk.
Yeah, I was not.
But I'm not sure this is very good for you either. But anyway, I think it's starting to
it looks lovely.
It's looking quite nice.
It doesn't have that orange aesthetic.
Yeah, I'm so
self-tan.
scared. But it might, because I did it last night and this morning it looks so nice. And when something looks good and something feels good for me, I'm always like, I want more. Like, that's just who I am. So I went and sprayed more on this morning. So in 8 hours time, you never know what I might look like. A little bit orange.
I look positively corpse-like next to you because I was not prepared and didn't think about these kinds of things.
Anyway, I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And
Definitely.
I'm so excited to be with you. And thanks so much for being on my podcast.
It's such a pleasure. It was so much fun. I wish we could do it more often.
Yes, and I think I forgot to mention earlier, Kim is away. That's also another reason why we haven't put out an episode recently. So once she's all back, we're going to get back into it. There's so much that we can't wait to share with you. So yeah, I'm really excited. And Sophie, have you been enjoying the podcast?
I have really been enjoying the podcast. I actually couldn't listen to the first episode. I had to skip to the second one because I hadn't finished watching The Bachelor.
Oh, I see.
Which is my first reality show that I have watched since Big Brother House, the first one with Ferdinand and Bad Brad and Margaret. Guys. I think we watched a lot of it together as per horny children.
Oh my God,
like
that
shower hour.
Which only happened when we were, staying home from school or something. Because it would happen at 11 in the morning or whatever it was.
I don't know when they cleaned themselves, but but I'm really enjoying it, and I'm very intrigued to find out what is going on with John.
I know.
Because
as am I.
To just your average listener, I just wondered, like, how can she not tell that he is so very clearly in love with him?
I know.
You don't write poems for people.
No, you just don't. You just don't sit there after a weekend away and write a poem,
Unless you love a person.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I've got to say this because it's important apparently. Be sure to follow us and leave us a review. Sophie, I'm speaking to you here.
Okay.
You're very good at writing. Write a good review for us.
I just spoke a review. Does that not count?
No, we need it to be written down. It helps. Anyway, so we're at prettylonely_pod on Instagram. That's where we're most active. And that's about it really. Hope you've had a lovely week, ladies and gentlemen. And you'll be hearing from me and Kim very soon. And thanks so much, Sophie, again. You're great.
Yes, it was wonderful. Thanks, guys.